Tea with Z. My name is Zamel Solanki, and it's an absolute pleasure to be joining each and every one of you again on another episode this morning. And if you are watching, definitely give me some likes, give me some hearts, drop a comment in the comment section below and say hi, because as you know, we love to make this as interactive as possible. And the way in which we do that is through, communication through a digital platform. And how do we communicate over a digital platform is we comment, we chat, we use the chat box. So definitely drop your comments in the comment section below and say hi this morning so I can give you a personal shout out as well, because at the end of the day, interaction drives conversation, and that's what we're all about here. If you're watching on YouTube, a special shout out, and also a special shout out to those watching on LinkedIn as well. Of course, Facebook, and a special shout out to those joining us from the Limitless Network. And all of the details about the Limitless Network are in the description box below. So if you haven't joined the Limitless Network yet, definitely jump on there, because at the end of the day, we're a group of like-minded people who value health. And whether or not we value health for ourselves, for others, or whatever, we see ourselves as healthpreneurs, where we take charge of our own health and well-being and empower others to do so. Because at the end of the day, without health, what do we have? So that's it from me this morning. And like I said, if you are watching live, drop a comment, say hi, because it's absolutely awesome connecting with each and every one of you. So yesterday we spoke about, adaptability on our episode of Tea with Z. And if you haven't watched that yet, go and check that out. And now today we're going to be talking about accountability, but accountability in the sense of, and is, I guess, comparison to being empathetic. Now, as a health entrepreneurs, as leaders in our business, as business owners, or even just talent within an organization, or being an intrapreneur, which is somebody that works for somebody else but has that entrepreneurial mindset and all of these amazing ideas to grow the business from an entrepreneurial standpoint. They're the amazing entrepreneurs. And whether or not you would see yourself as an entrepreneur in your own right, or an intrapreneur, whatever shape or form, I believe you're all healthpreneurs in your own right, because at the end of the day, you're working for a collective greater good. But when we're working for a collective greater good, as leaders, we need to demonstrate that we can, I guess, ensure levels of accountability to those that are working with us, but also be held to account in return. So how does, I'm going to focus on accountability first, and then we'll dive into empathy, and then we'll look at combining the two. But when we look at accountability, how does that show up for you and your team in your workplace? If you've got a leadership team, and you might be part of that leadership team, or you might not be, how does leadership demonstrate accountability to you, and how do you yourself hold the leadership team accountable? Now, if you're working by yourself, you would be having others hold you accountable, and others holding, I guess, you'd be holding others accountable, and they'd be holding you. You'd be holding others accountable, and they would be holding you to account if you had more than one person working for you. But how does it work in if you're working by yourself? At the end of the day, a lot of my work I do by myself, and I have some team and things like that. But a lot of the work I do is by myself. So how do I hold myself accountable? Well, what I do is I also place expectations on my clients and my customers to also hold me accountable, because at the end of the day, when we look at accountability, we kind of tend to box it in. And a special good morning. Thanks, Tash, for jumping on and dropping a comment in the comment section below. Good morning, Tash. When we look at our ability to hold ourselves accountable, well, think beyond your four walls. Think beyond just you, your team. How do you hold your customers to account? How do you hold them to do what they say they'll do? How do you hold the organizations that you work with, whether they're JVs, affiliate partners, whatever that they might be? How do you hold them to account to do what they say they'll do? And in return, how do they hold you accountable? And what methods of communication do you support to ensure that that accountability happens? Because at the end of the day, when we look at the role accountability plays for our customers and our consumers and our patients, we as healthpreneurs have a massive duty to ensure that our customers and our patients do what they say they'll do. If we advise them that they need to take medication daily, are they doing what they say they will do? How do we hold them accountable, and how do they themselves hold themselves accountable? And so when we look at accountability, well, then how do we match that with a sense of empathy? Now, in its broadest form, empathy refers to the ability to understand where somebody is coming from, to step into their shoes and understand where they're coming from and what they feel like, and to share those feelings of that other person. And so when we're marrying up accountability versus empathy, well, there might be a lot of things going on. And from a leader to, say, a talent member within our organization, there might be a lot of other things going on within that within their own world that we might not be aware of. And if we're drilling down and going, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing that, why aren't you doing this? I set these deadlines, what's happening? Versus really questioning and finding out the deep cause of it through a level of empathy and understanding, we're going to get increased friction, we're going to get increased disconnection, and we're going to get increased resentment. And as a result of that, we're going to get poorer performance outcomes. And this translates to our relationship with our patients as well, is how do we be empathetic whilst ensuring accountability? Well, it's asking about the roadblocks, the challenges that they might be experiencing at the moment that is preventing them from doing what they say they'll do. What are their fears? What are their concerns? What are their anxieties that are standing in the way? And this then translates also to our team. The way in which we treat our team is the way in which we treat our customers. Richard Branson, and I can't recall the quote at the moment, but essentially, his philosophy is that you focus so much on your team and the team experience that they will then translate that to the customer experience. Whereas if we always are focusing on the customer and forgetting the team experience, then by virtue, the customer experience will suffer because the team aren't being able to step up and perform. And so by taking that step back and really ensuring that we're focusing on our team and being empathetic, the way in which we would be to our customers will help to drive that level of understanding and clarity for when things aren't happening the way in which we envision. And so when we marry up the two, and this is where leadership comes about, is that if we stuff up, how do we step into the shoes of the patient and go, well, okay, I'm going to take responsibility for that and correct it because I understand how dangerous this is, how this is making you feel. In the pharmacy world, that might be that you've given out a wrong medication or you've dispensed something in error. How are you stepping up to be accountable to yourself and demonstrating that level of accountability to your patient, knowing that there's a level of empathy required to understand their feelings? If they're on the other end of the phone yelling at you down the phone for a mistake that you've made, well, why is that? What are they feeling? What are they feeling? And this goes for a customer as well. Well, what pressures now do they have if we've made a mistake? And how are we demonstrating that we are going to hold ourselves to account? We are going to look at the reasons why it happened the way it did and then help to ensure it doesn't happen in the future. And that works both ways. But by deep diving and understanding the reasons as to why something might be happening and from their world will help us as leaders, as healthpreneurs, demonstrate more empathy. And it all comes down to, firstly, one, understanding that, without empathy, we're going to get less productivity. Because if we're just drilling down and going, you need to do this, you need to do this, I don't care how it's done, I don't care what's going on in your world right now, we just need it done, you're going to get more resentment and less productivity. We're also going to get less buy-in because we don't understand what the struggles are. And as a result of poorer productivity, we're going to get poorer job satisfaction and poorer job completion, and also poorer standards. the standards that we're known for. Things might get completed, but they're going to be getting completed to a poorer standard. And what does that mean? We also don't want to, make assumptions and just jump to conclusions, because at the end of the day, we don't know what we don't know. And we're not going to know unless we ask the right questions. And be truly invested in finding out what it's all about. Finding out where they're coming from and what their roadblocks and challenges are. And you want to make set times to do this. You want to make non-negotiable times for a structured conversation where there's open and honest communication. And we've spoken about the daily huddle or daily scrum process before, and a way in which to do that. And there needs to be a level of adaptability. And we spoke about adaptability yesterday. And if we're so rigid and critical on, this is the black and white way to do it, well, of course, there's elements of black and white. But there's also elements of, recognizing that a job is still being completed to a great standard, even though they haven't followed a great, maybe the set in stone process. But what does that look like for that? And Jan, thanks for jumping on this morning. Special shout out to Jan. I hope you're doing awesome. Less mistakes are made when there's a happy work environment, and 100%, Jan, 100%. If we're all working in harmony, of course, it's a positive, fun-filled, rich environment that, is supportive of one another. The outcomes can only match that. Because at the end of the day, yeah, as Jan has said, if we're working in a happy environment, less mistakes are going to happen because we're more productive, we're more focused, we're more energized. And then from the accountability perspective, well, being held accountable to a leadership team, well, how can our talent, our customers, even our leadership team be more vocal about demonstrating levels of accountability? Well, firstly, one, it's let them know what you're working on. Let them know what you're working on, and and I guess where your progress is at. Constantly give feedback and insights as to your progress. And that's going to demonstrate levels of accountability. Show up on time to work, show up on time to any prepared meetings, and come prepared with your information and know what needs to be done. Offer to help out as well. Offer to jump in and assist the team when things are hitting the fan. And if you're in a leadership role and you just stand back and let others take the burden of it, rather than stepping in and going, you know what, as a leader, I need to take charge, well, then demonstrate your ability to do that. Demonstrate your ability to do that. Of course, delegate and, make sure that people are being held to, account where they need to be. But if it is something that needs to be handled in a way, then take responsibility and jump in and do that. And constantly seek two-way feedback. Check in regularly with your team. See how they're going. See what support that you can offer them as well. Because at the end of the day, accountability doesn't have to be constantly just drilling down. It can be a supportive mechanism as well. So that's it from me today. Accountability versus empathy. This is fine balance, but something that I really wanted to touch on, because what I'm seeing, as we're under more pressure now, moving into this busy period. We're now moving into December. There's going to be more pressure. Well, how can we ensure that we're doing what we need to do, but also understanding what's actually happening in our own worlds in a really empathetic way? Understanding the feelings of stress, anxiety that we might be going through that might be impacting our ability to get things done. So that's it from me today. My final question for you today is, how are you demonstrating your balance of accountability and empathy in your workplace? How is that showing up for you? How is your leadership team showing up? And if you're a talent member, how are you demonstrating your levels of accountability and empathy as well? Because empathy works both ways. Your leadership team, like accountability, your leadership team, could be undergoing enormous amounts of stress. And being empathetic to understand their feelings also is very, very important. So that's it from me today. Food for thought. Accountability versus empathy. How is it showing up? How is it balanced? And a special shout out to those that have joined me live and have commented as well, so that have come up. So A very, very warm welcome to you, and well, warm, acknowledgement to you, I guess, because we're about to finish up. But if you haven't yet joined the Limitless Network, these are the details, and the description is in the description box below about how to join. So all the details are there. If you if you value health in any way, shape, or form, that's a community for you. So that's it from me today. Have an absolutely amazing day. I look forward to catching up with you on another episode of Tea with Z tomorrow. So have an amazing day, and thanks for watching. Chat to you then. Bye for now.